One of the big things I've realized and I've noticed is that whenever we have a conversation about social media, it's always referring to the millennial generation, always talking about teenagers, but rarely does the conversation involve teenagers and involve millennials. And I feel a little cheated in that because I see people talking about things that I'm doing that I'm not actually doing. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not using Facebook the way you think I am, and I'm not using hashtags in every tweet I send. So a little bit about me. Like she said, I'm a senior at Camas High School. I've done some preliminary research in high school, different programs like that, but I'm just a standard teenager, and I'm on my phone a lot, so I think that gives me some qualifications to talk about social media, but I don't have any formal training, but we'll just hop into it. Why I'm up here, it's really important that we have this conversation about social media and how teens are actually using it so we can understand how educators and scientists can actually communicate with the incoming generation of people that are going to be receiving this information. If you don't know how to effectively communicate with the next generation coming up, then your information's not going to get to them in a right way. Essentially, I like to think of the way people use social media in three groups. I like to divide them into three groups. There's teenagers, most adults, and then there's opponents of social media, and it's important to include this section. Teenagers are the ones that are using the apps, the ones that are posting on it. We follow the trends and we understand what each app does and how they're different from one another. Most adults, they understand what the apps do, maybe know them by name. They don't necessarily use all of them, but they kind of have an account that has 4 followers and all of the grandparents. And then there's opponents of social media, and they find it to be regressive. And this is an important section to bring up because in this day and age, especially with the recent election and the political forecast of America right now, there's a lot of people that find social media to not have very much benefit to it. My dad falls into this area. He doesn't understand why I'm here talking today. But I think it's important that we bring that to light. If we realize that these two sections actually represent students and educators and scientists, then we get to realize that if we can create this bridge of communication between the two, then it's just going to make science communication and interest in the younger generation much more prevalent in the future than if we were approaching it from just kind of these ideas that adults have how teens are using social media, but not actually 100% accurate. There's 4 primary apps that teenagers use, and while there's there's so many different social media websites, but they're coming and going just as fast as trends on these sites are. But these are the 4 that are sticking around in primary. Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I have 4 of these accounts, and almost all of my friends do. You're gonna be hard pressed to find a teenager that isn't on these sites and using them for different purposes. Then they each serve a unique purpose, and that's the thing that makes them unique, is that each one of them targets a different niche, and that's why we can have 4, and they're sticking around, and they're going to stay, and they're not being overlapped and coming in and out with changes in the times. So let's start by going over what each one really is used for. Snapchat, really the best way to describe it is texting with pictures, because when you send a Snapchat to somebody, it's gone after 10 seconds. There's some ways to get around this, but it's really an in-the-moment form of communication. I send a Snapchat to my friend of this really cool thing I made, or this awesome meal that I'm eating, and I want them to be jealous that I'm doing it, or something like that. You send it to them because it's what you're doing at that exact moment, and it goes away. Another reason teens really like Snapchat is the semi-private function of it. If I send my friend a picture and he takes a screenshot of it, I get a notification that they took a screenshot of it. So I know if they're keeping my picture. I know if it's something that they're keeping and I didn't want them to keep it. As well, you can post things on your story that go away after 24 hours. And the real reason behind this is that you can post content that's authentic and in the moment, but it doesn't stick around and it's not going to linger and cast a bad rap in your account. This is a screenshot of my Snapchat. I have some different conversations going, and you can see the snap streaks. Those are how many days in a row I've communicated with these people over Snapchat. You have to send a picture with them. And I know there's a 424-day snap streak there. That's with my best friend. I see her every day, but we try and keep it going as long as we can. And I think I'm the furthest of any of my friends into a snap streak. It's really gimmicky, serves no purpose other than that. But there's that going for me, I guess, if I don't get into college, but that one. It's really just a brief way to communicate. You can't really send long messages. It's really just pictures, and it's kind of person-to-person contact. Moving on to Instagram. Instagram is what I would consider to be the least social media of the social media. it's really a curated way we can share pictures. Teenagers have these super powerful cameras in their pockets. We're always taking good pictures of things. We always want to capture what we're doing, but sometimes they're not often the best pictures. They're not framed right, or they're blurry. So what Instagram is for sharing the best pictures that you take. This is my Instagram up here. A lot of it is me and my friends and my family, but it's pictures that I consider to be the most representative of me and the ones that I want people to see when they see what I'm interested in. Instagram really is where you post things that you want people to recognize you as and recognize you for. You can see here is a picture of a tattoo artist my brother goes to. He uses Instagram really as a way to share his work as well as get business contacts. So while on the personal side of it, and teenagers are using it to post their best pictures, people really do use it as their homepage for business, and he takes reservations from here. There's another girl that went to my school. She's an artist. She goes to a school in, I think she goes to the University of Portland now, but she commissions her work through Instagram. She shares it. Instagram really serves a variety of purposes. You can tailor it to what you want, but the big aspect to take away from it is that it's curated images that you feel best represent you as a person. And then Twitter is a whole nother beast of an animal. Twitter really, the best way to put it for teenagers, it's a place where we can openly complain about things that we're upset about. Little on Twitter has substance, and you see a lot of tweets that are shared, and they have a lot of good things to say about them. But if you think about how many tweets are sent, the actual proportion that are out there really are of no substance at all. It heavily sways with trends. And then there's a large split between the way businesses use it and the way people use it, especially teenagers. So this is my Snapchat. There's really nothing of substance on here, like I said. I mean my Twitter, excuse me. I was complaining about the snow. We had a foot of snow in Vancouver, which is ridiculous. We had school canceled for 9 days, so that was stuck in my house. And then when it was in April and it was hot, I was complaining about getting hot. I don't like the weather very much, so it's like, it's just really a place where you can go and actively complain. That's the personal use of it. I also have another Twitter account devoted to rowing. When I'm not at school or I'm not studying, I'm a rower. Not really my free time. Yeah, there you go. And so I run this account called Crew Life, and my top picture you can see has 666 favorites and 428 retweets. That's quite a bit. And then the beautiful thing about this for a business or a blog aspect is that when you go into the picture, you have some analytics with it. So it looks nice, this has 428 retweets, but what does that actually mean? So social media managers love this, is that you can click on that button. Oh, let's go back. And then you can see I almost reached 100,000 people with this tweet. Almost 100,000 people saw it. That's a big deal that you can get this information out that quickly. And I only have 2,000 followers, and the last speaker had 8,000. But I was able to reach 100,000 people with this. And 550 people were drawn to my page just from this tweet. And so if you're a small business, or if you're putting your scientific research out, and you get 500 people coming and looking at your actual research, it's a big deal. But you have to understand what kind of posts to draw people in. So by having these analytics, you can see, okay, wow, this tweet really people did not like this. It didn't draw them in. Or they really did like this. So it's a good way to get the analytics out and then use this for your advantage. Twitter is really great about that. You have to be careful with it because there's a lot of spread of misinformation on Twitter, and there's a lot of ways that Twitter can be used as a double-edged sword, especially when you're posting something. It can be taken out of context incredibly easily. So you have to be careful with that. But that's why harmless things like a blog about a sport don't really have very many negatives to draw about it. And then there's, Facebook. Teens use it different than adults use it. I know a lot of you probably use it to communicate with family and friends the same way that we would use Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat, but teens really use it as their front page to the internet, so to speak. When I was applying to colleges, I went back 8 years in my Facebook history, and I got rid of everything I didn't want colleges to see. And I put everything on there that I would want them to see. So we really use it as a way where when potential employers or potential colleges are looking at this, they're going in and seeing, okay, this kid, he really likes his family, he really is good, active in the community, things like that. They're not going to go, my Snapchat is private, my Twitter is private, my Instagram is private. They're not going to be able to see those things unless I want my friends to. But my Facebook, this is where people think, oh, he's a great guy, we want him in our university. So that's kind of really how teens use it. And it's so important because I haven't posted, I think, in months, but when you see that, when someone sees that and they don't know me, they're going to get initially a good impression, and making that first impression is really key. And then, when they meet me in person, I'm obviously not as whiny as I am on my Twitter, so it's really important that they get that first impression. And then relating all this back to how scientists can use it when discussing teenagers. A great place to start is with Instagram, because people love pretty science pictures of things. Here's a Instagram account that's really popular in the local area. It's up close of plants, and this is pretty science. It looks good. People want to see this. People want to take it in. Teenagers, they don't really care to read abstracts. They don't care to read your thesis. They just really want to see kind of up close and personal what you're doing. Berkeley Lab, they also have learned how to do this, and they have amassed a nice following on Instagram just because they post pictures of pretty things. This is it's zoomed in right now just for the square, but it actually says Happy Holidays spelled out with the elements. So learning to engage like that and make it pretty is a good way to interact with people. And then we have one more, the U.S. Interior. I really just wanted to put this up there, based on the recent events that have been going on. It's so important that we have the ability to use social media to get out there, because like the last speaker said, information spreads so quickly. So promoting this and getting it so it's interesting to the youth is a great way to get the science out there. And hopefully this sticks around a lot longer, because I really like this Instagram page. Look at, they almost have 1.2 million followers. Twitter can be used, and it can be used well, but it has to be used cautiously. Here's a lab page I found. I just did a Google search of them. The first tweet they sent 2 days ago was they're looking for pictures of apple slices under a microscope for whatever their use is, and this is a great way to use it. You just have to understand that it's not supposed to be where you post all of your research and you post all of your abstracts, because no one's going to want to read that. You really have to make it engaging. And they're drawing people in by asking if they have publicly available pictures, so that's a great way to go about doing that. And then Chris Hadfield is an astronaut. He uses this Twitter really as his way he can spread his scientific beliefs and his political beliefs in a way that people are interested in. Like, there's a picture of Adam Savage from the Mythbusters. He's really putting content out that's interesting to people, and while it is related to science, he has 1.8 million followers, and there's people that want to hear what he has to say just because he made it interesting. So Twitter can flop if you don't make what you're posting interesting and drawing people in, but it can spread really quickly. Facebook, like I said, it's not the best place to post just because most teenagers aren't on it anymore. It's really not an active place where I'm going to find articles or see articles, but it's a great place to use as a base page. Facebook can let you link all of your Instagram and your Twitter pages together. So if you are on Instagram and you see somebody posting research and you want to see more, they can link it to their Facebook page and then use that. A lot of companies actually use Facebook as a website, and it's becoming more of a platform where you can do so in the scientific community. I just have NASA up here because they kind of do the same thing, but if you scroll down, there's just links to their scientific research and posts on Instagram, Twitter, and other websites such as those. And then I say to avoid Snapchat. You can approach Snapchat in different ways. The fact of the matter is that there's really no way to explore on Snapchat, and that means that if I don't know you in person, I'm not going to really be able to find your account. The way you add people, like I had up at the beginning, was my Snap code, so you could either take a picture of that, or you could know my username and type that in and then become my friend, and we can send pictures to one another. But there's no way that someone could share somebody else's information, so I wouldn't be able to see the engagement from that. So Snapchat really, there's a part where news organizations can put information out, like CNN has their Snapchat, and that's pushed out to everybody, but that's not something that's going to work in the realm of research and scientific communication. So the last thing is that social media, like I said from the beginning, can really be used as a great tool, but you just have to understand how teenagers are using it so that communication can be built. Because if you take these tips that I gave you and take them out and then start sharing information, teenagers are really going to actively be involved, because we want to learn, we want to know about the science, but if you're putting 30 hashtags, it's lame. No one's going to want to see it. Frankly, no one uses hashtags anymore, at least my generation. And then on Facebook, if you post a link to a Google Scholar article where I have to pay to read it, no, that's not conducive to the atmosphere that's coming up. So just the big thing is brevity and entertainment. Those two big things can help you in the greater scheme of getting out an interesting youth on social media. Thank you.
I'm just wondering, teens don't use hashtags. Can you expand on that a little?
Yeah.
What is it about hashtags?
Sure. So a hashtag is meant to group, like really on Twitter, group tweets of similar interests together. You'd put, like we have the tweets running up there, and they're all grouped together by hashtag. But if I'm complaining about the weather, I'm not going to say it's hashtag hot. Like, where does that get me? Where does that? It's not conducive to the way teens are actually using it, because its purpose is to group things together, and rarely are teens posting things that need to be grouped together in such a way. So if it were to serve a purpose in the way we're using it, then it would still be applicable, but it's really not. So you're.
So the research center that I work for, we have Twitter and Facebook, and I think I try to monitor them fairly regularly. I personally haven't used Instagram, so we haven't branched into that yet. But I was interested to hear you say that you perceive it mostly as a photo sharing rather than social. So I'm curious to hear, do you think, because I haven't jumped into it because I've been concerned about being able to monitor it consistently. So do you see it as more of a one-way kind of? People post photos and it doesn't necessarily have a huge amount of interaction.
Yeah, I mean, the interaction that would come is discussions on the comments thread of each picture. Each picture you post, you can actually turn the comments off, so that's one way you could approach it. But discussion can occur in the comments thread, but it's really to get things out, share pictures of what you're doing, and then get people interested. And then commonly you'd have a link in your biography at the top of your page saying, directing you to where you want to go. So if someone's interested in getting more of your scientific research, then they can be directed to that page. But it's really just to grab people in and get the name out. Is what it's primarily used for. So
I work in health development, and I was thinking about what you said about Snapchat. I was thinking we work with some local schools, and in the sense that the schools, the students that we work with know us, we could theoretically become a Snapchat group and communicate with them that way. I was wondering what you thought about that versus Twitter or just a text, like we're going to get together to do this activity, or this is one of the youth committee's meeting, or
yeah. So what I'd said about it being really like picture text messaging is kind of a good analogy to use for this. If you think about if you would want somebody texting you with this information, even if you can get their number, they necessarily want you to be pushing out information to them all the time? On Snapchat, there's a feature called Stories where I can voluntarily go and look to see if people have posted something, and that will remain for 24 hours. But because the content doesn't stick around, it disappears, and because it's directly sent to one person, and you can send it to multiple people, but because it's sent to that person specifically, it may be more intrusive to do it that way than it would be to use on Twitter, where if they want the information, they can actively seek it out. Yeah.
Hey, thanks again. You mentioned that your Facebook account was kind of your welcoming, this is who I am as a cool guy to get into college.
Yeah.
Then you also mentioned that you can link your Facebook account to your Twitter and Snapchat and
Yeah.
Instagram. Why would you do that, or would you do that?
I personally wouldn't, but like I said, my Twitter and my Instagram are private, so even if I were to link them, they would still have to get my permission for them to be able to see those pages. That aspect would really be beneficial in the research or the scientific aspect, where if you want the engagement and you want people to see all of your profiles, that's where it would be useful to have these links. But
so if you were trying to get into college and I wanted to go look at your other accounts from Facebook and I couldn't, would that deter me from letting you into college?
No, I don't think so, and mostly because I don't have them linked on there, so you wouldn't even get the impression that I'm trying to hide something from you. It's really a cat and mouse game where I have to stay ahead of the other people that are trying to get more information about me. And that's the other thing, is that we've always been told that things we post on social media are there forever to stay, and that's entirely true. So you have to approach it from the perspective that if you don't want somebody to see something, don't let them see it from the beginning. Don't take away their privilege to see it at the end. I think you were first.
So one of the things I've been discouraged by when I'm trying to do my own kind of stuff, so with like science communication, like a common accounts, is that I have a sphere of influence. And if I want to expand that sphere of influence, I don't know exactly how to do that. And I thought maybe hashtags a way of grouping, but with what you said at the end, I just want to know if you have anything to elaborate on it. Is Twitter any better than Instagram, or is it any better than Facebook in trying to gain that readership, or
Sure.
expanding that sphere of influence?
So the beauty of Twitter is that there's this thing called a retweet where, so if I post something on Twitter and it goes to my personal 300 followers, if another person were to retweet my tweet, not only would my 300 followers see it, but however many followers they have, they would also see it. So, in expanding your sphere of influence, the best way to go about it is to get other accounts and other people to retweet your information. And so on a personal level, you can either do that by having people find interest in what you're saying and agree with it, so they want it to represent their profile on Twitter, or if you could reach out to other groups on Twitter that you feel like would benefit from having your work on their page, and they may find interest into it in having that there, and they may be willing to retweet it. And that's when you have to go into direct messaging people and reaching out to people still in that personal sphere of contact and getting them to share your work, because it all has to come down to sharing your work. I feel like I have a lot of good things to say, but I only have 300 people following me on Twitter, so it's like you have to get out there and share that information and actually push it out. That's kind of the best way to describe that. Yeah.
Let's take the 2 more questions.
So I know like new features on these sites that have been around, like Instagram Stories and Facebook Live.
Sure.
Are those things that aren't really like gaining traction?
No. Really no. Like Snapchat is its own thing because the app is constantly changing. They push out an update every 2 weeks, and they make it intentionally difficult to use. It's always, you always have to relearn how to use the app just because it changes so much. But like when Facebook is pushing out Facebook Live, it's the same thing as another app called Periscope or another app called Meerkat, where you can go and live stream what you're doing. And live stream really, they have these dedicated apps and they have a small following, but like I said, I'm not going to go on Facebook and do what I would do on Snapchat on Facebook. These new apps are trying to emulate features that are successful in the other social medias, and that's why they're not really gaining traction, specifically with my generation, because we have dedicated apps that a lot of our friends are using. If I can get 100 people to look at something I post on Snapchat, why would I go on Facebook where my grandma's going to look at it? That's kind of the reason behind that, yeah.
So you've talked a lot about how teens use social media to communicate with each other in the world, but I'm wondering, how do you and how do your peers get science information? Where do you go for
Sure,
science
yeah.
information?
I'm in a unique position where I'm in a STEM magnet program school, and I've become a critical intaker of information, I like to think. So I personally go, I look at peer-reviewed articles, like a lot of this has been talking about. I like to go, when I check the news, I check different websites, like I use BBC, CNN a lot, and I cross-reference between different websites. I know that's not super common of teenagers. A lot of teenagers will take what they see on the internet for face value, and they don't really look at it further. And that's one of the things that I think is really important for teens to become educated on, is that you can't just take things at face value on the internet, because it's so easy to spread misinformation, and it's so easy to get something to look real and look authentic even if it isn't. So while I and the peers that I specifically work with maybe intakers of information just like all of you are, that's not generally how teenagers do it. So that's what I was talking about, the double-edged sword of social media. And just like the speaker before me, it's really easy to spread stuff around. And if we want information to become easily shared on social media, then it needs to be the correct information, and it needs to be information that's not going to mislead people. So it's an ongoing battle, kind of, how to make that happen.
So, not picturing students maybe from your school specifically, but teenagers in general, would you say any of those platforms more than another might be conducive to, check out the school science fact?
Yeah, I would probably say Instagram, just because you get the really nice pictures. But if you're just sharing like little, like kind of headline grabbing information, that's where Twitter's for. You only have 140 characters on Twitter. But the big thing is you just have to draw their attention in one way. And it doesn't really matter what site they use, because almost all teens exclusively use those 4 sites. And you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody with a Snapchat that doesn't have a Twitter, somebody with an Instagram that doesn't have a Twitter. So not more so one than the other, just knowing how to utilize each one in their own unique way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Join me in thanking Erik.